consistently. And so what I'd like to do is just take a few minutes and address those issues and how I feel about those issues. And then Larry will get into the town hall part of this thing. One of the big questions that a lot of people have asked me is, what's my experience in terms of doing budgets and finance and so forth, and implying that maybe I don't have that kind of experience. And one of the key jobs of county commissioners, and we have a few former commissioners here, and they can pretty much tell you, they've told me at least, one of the main responsibilities is to put together a budget and appropriations and make sure that everybody stays and lives within that budget. So when times are good, it can be a little easy. When times are bad, as we all know, it can be a little more difficult. From that standpoint, my background in finances, for 11 years before I came to Hancock County, I was a city auditor down in Struthers, Ohio, for 11 years. And again, when times were good, the first few years I was in office, it was pretty easy to balance budgets. Then the steel mills started closing and it became a little more difficult when you had less money. But I was able to work with the mayor, the city council people, and we managed to balance the budgets and keep the city operating and running in an efficient manner. But it wasn't easy, and so I know how to deal in bad times, and I know how to deal in good times. And then when I came to Hancock County, although I didn't really work for the city or county, I worked for the Community Development Foundation, which was a private nonprofit group, and our main charge was to do development in the county and to bring jobs and investment into the community. But part of that was to work with the city and the county commissioners, the mayor, to make sure that what we were doing fit into their budgets, and that we weren't creating situations where, yeah, it's nice to get a company, but it's going to cost the city or county X number of dollars to maintain that. So there was a lot of important feedback there, and again, some of the people in the room today were a part of that, and I think we were pretty successful in doing that. So, I think that background pretty much lends itself to the fact that from the standpoint of experience relative to finances and government finances, I certainly have a pretty good experience and a good understanding of it. The next thing as it relates to budget and finance was an understanding of where the revenue comes from. And I guess I want to tell each of you here today that, the revenue comes from you all. Now, it may come in the form of an income tax, or it may come in the form of a sales tax, or a CAT tax, or what have you, but it comes from different sources. And, my feeling is that from a standpoint of revenue, people are really getting tired of being taxed. I know that I don't know if any of you ever heard this little poem. I got it and I pulled it out because when I talk to a lot of people, they say, well, if you get elected, Kovach, are you going to put a tax on us? And I says, not as far as I'm concerned. And if you may have heard this poem, but somebody sent it to me a couple years ago, and it talks about taxes, and you don't really realize it until you hear it. But it says, tax his land, tax his wage, tax his bed in which he lays. Tax his tractor, tax his mule, teach him taxes is the rule. Tax his cow, tax his goat, tax his pants, tax his coat, tax his ties, tax his shirts, tax his work, tax his dirt. Tax his tobacco, tax his drink, tax him if he tries to think. Tax his booze, tax his cheer. If he cries, tax his tears. Tax his bills, tax his gas, tax his notes, tax his cash. Tax him good and let him know that after taxes, he has no dough. If he hollers, tax him more, tax him until he's good and sore. Tax his coffin, tax his grave. Tax the sun in which he lays. Put these words upon his tomb. Taxes drove me to my doom. And when he's gone, we won't relax. We'll still have that inheritance tax. When I got that, when I thought about it, and it's been something that it's been a part of my philosophy that people are taxed too much. A number of people have asked me as I've been out campaigning, yeah, we knew when you were the development director here, you just took all our money. The reason we got problems today because you gave all this tax abatement. I talked to a farmer today, and he told me that, and I said, well, I got to tell you something. We've got some people in the room that were involved in our Community Development Foundation. We never gave any kind of tax abatement, with one exception, and we did that when Whirlpool was going to move a plant, their KitchenAid plant from Kentucky to Ohio. And although I didn't feel good about it at the time, I think in retrospect, that was the right thing because it just made Whirlpool a lot stronger in the community. But everybody in Tall Timbers, no tax abatement. A lot of the other companies we brought in outside of Tall Timbers, no tax abatement. And as a result of that, the investment in the community was able to pay dividends to the community. One of the other issues that relates to the tax abatement issue is Best Buy. Best Buy came to town, and when they came to town, they made a major investment up there, $45 million investment in the building. And they originally asked for tax abatement, and they said, Toledo's going to give us 50% abatement if we go to Toledo. And I suggested to them, well, look at what Toledo's, at that time, their property taxes were like $82 per thousand of millage, where in Findlay, in the area out by Tall Timbers, it was $43. So, half of 82, is 41. So they were like $2 with 50% abatement. But guess what? They inherited the unions. They inherited a lot of problems. And if anybody reads the Blade, you know the kind of problems are in Toledo. So it really became a no-brainer, and Best Buy decided to come here. The only other thing they really wanted was a road from Tall Timbers, where they're located, out to Interstate 75. It was something that we had wanted for a long time, all the companies in Tall Timbers, and as a result, we use a little technique called tax increment financing. And just to clear it up for you, tax increment financing is a means where a company comes in and they make a significant investment, and they don't get tax abatement, but they agree to allow 50% of their taxes that they pay to go to do a capital project. In this case, it was the connector road. So we put that in place about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, I guess it was, and Best Buy has pretty much paid that connector road off, along with a couple other companies that located in Tall Timbers. But the bottom line to it was that the community got a connector road, so you can go from the east side of town if you live there to 75 with very little delay. It's enhanced a lot of the companies that are in Tall Timbers, and I don't really believe that. In fact, I know that Lowe's would not have located here had it not been for that connector road. So it was something we put together. It was creative, it was innovative. The schools went along with it, and it didn't cost the taxpayers any money out of their general fund. It was something that was paid for, quite frankly, by Best Buy. Charity Rossberger, who's our county auditor, tells me that road, all the money will be collected by the end of this tax season this year, so that road will be paid off. And I think those are the kind of creative things people can do if they work together. So, my view on taxes is we really don't want to. You never say never, because there's a guy named Bush that got in trouble saying that. But I think you got to make every effort as a public official to keep taxes to a minimum. Prioritizing the financial needs of the county. Certainly, I think we would all agree that the highest priority got to be public safety and maintaining a sufficient sheriff's department to deal with all parts of the county. It really bothered me last year when they were going through the budget crisis, where they were talking about how we're going to get rid of police officers and so forth. And that's the worst thing that anybody wanting to move into the community would want to hear, is that you don't have good security. So without a question, that would be my highest priority, to make sure that we're able to maintain that throughout the county. And then the last thing, and a lot of people